Hi everyone, Armoured Pants here, and I have another video for you in the American line. This time it's a Tier 4 TD, the M8A1, and there's a complete guide here. This is the alternative tank that you have compared to the M7 when you reach Tier 4. And we're going to have a look at the tech spec and use Blitz hanger. But this is a tank destroyer, so it has a very different gameplay, and therefore I would ask you to please again watch the video Beginner's Guide to Tank Destroyers, and there's a link in the description. Please really watch that because it has valuable lessons when playing a tank destroyer, because it's a completely different game style, requires a completely different approach to the game. This tank itself I like. It has a 76mm gun, so it does a lot of damage. It has an 8.8 second reload when using gun rammer, and we will use supercharged and refined gun, and that gives us very nice muzzle velocity, 1000 meters per second, which is great. This tank is unusual as a tank destroyer in that it has a turret. The turret of course has a very slow traverse speed, but it does have a turret, and it's also very fast. It's quite mobile and will get around the map pretty well, which is great because it allows you to get into different positions for sniping and to support your team. It has different shell types. It has AP, APCR and HE. Just a quick recap on those. AP is your standard round, which you should use most of the time. APCR, or armour piercing composite round, is a premium round which allows you to penetrate more but has less damage. And HE, of course, does the most damage but the less amount of penetration, and used on tanks like this with virtually no armour. You can put a HE round into the back of this with your own gun, because as you can see in the back, it's very vulnerable at the sides, and has a little bit of armour on the lower plate here. And on the turret, you can see it's difficult to pen because it's a small target. But bear in mind that if you try to play this like the tanks you've played before, you will find the turret very slow to traverse and you will suffer. If you angle the tank a little bit, as we just showed there, you will be able to create some virtually thicker armor that will help you. But really you should assume that you're going to get penned by most things. If you get a bounce, let's consider it a bonus. So you should consider yourself as something which will be penned most of the time, so therefore you need to keep yourself out of trouble. Some of the tier 3s, if you're the high tier tank with lower millimeter guns, will bounce off you, but you should assume that you're going to get penned by most things. The turret traverse speed, as I said, is terrible, so you need to be aware of that. What can you do to counter that? Well, as with all tanks with slow moving turrets, you can pre-aim the gun. So when you're moving towards a target, move the turret so that it's in line. It's coming into line with the target as you move towards it. Therefore, when you get on target, you're already aligned and can fire off your shot. It's a little tip and it will help you out. Let's look at the gameplay and also note the map tactics, because this is a map that you're going to play more often as you move up the tiers. And you should be aware of what to do, particularly if you're in a tank destroyer. Now, a tank destroyer is usually a support vehicle. Particularly in this game, I'm up tiered, so I'm against tier 5, so it's going to be very difficult. So I try to use the speed of my tank to support my meds, which are flanking left. We're going to move towards this hill here on the bottom left hand part of the map. And this is particularly important to dominate this part of the map, particularly for medium tanks, because it allows you to spot up the other medium tanks and light tanks which are flanking, but also allows you to fire shots across the valley into the enemy tanks on the opposite side, as we're doing here. Now I'm going to push up to the hill now because I see there's a lack of targets, and this is the hill right in front of me here on the left. Now what I normally do here is, if I've got a fast tank like this, I normally mount the hill, stick my nose over to spot the enemy without actually putting myself in danger. So when I go like this, I don't actually have to go all the way up on the hill. I'm able to spot the enemy. Now I've proceeded to go onto the flat of the hill, fire off a shot and reverse back, so I'm using the hill to give me cover. I'm waiting for it while I reload, and I go back up again, but I don't brown the hill completely. I'm just seeing if I can get a target. No, come back down. What I'm doing is I'm really keeping myself out of trouble here, because, as I said, I don't really have any armour and I'm up tiered, so I can get a lot of damage. So I'm using the natural incline of the hill to create cover for myself. And I know that the tank is pretty agile, pretty map friendly, so I can move up and down, I can roll backwards and forwards. So now I'm actually able to see across the valley, see if there's any shots, and I'm not in any danger because I have the hill in front of me. I have a hill to the right and I have the piping in the middle, so I'm more or less protected on all sides unless there's somebody behind me, but obviously my allies are keeping that clear. Now I see that these guys are facing the wrong way, so this allows me to move up onto the hill, put a shot in, and I take him out. Aiming is maiming, make your shots count. It's extremely important when you're in Tank Destroyer. What I decided to do there was push on up because I know that he has a very, very slow reload. I can outfire him, and with my gun I can make my shots count. And as you saw there, put one round into him there, set him on fire and got the kill. I also used the speed of the tank to get myself in and out of trouble. I took a little bit of damage but was able to clear 2 tanks, so I think that's a fairly good exchange. Now what I'm doing is here I'm rocking backwards and forth, putting in around, then taking cover, coming back out again. I know that the Panzer 40 has a very long reload, the 75mm gun. Now I look around, this is brilliant for me, the KV is not facing me. KV facing onto me there would be big trouble because if he put a HE round into me he could do massive damage, maybe even take me out completely with one shot. But he's facing away from me, so I'm just rocking backwards and forwards, using cover, putting a lot of damage into him and help my team clear that very dangerous enemy. KV-1 is an extremely dangerous tank. Again, aiming is maiming, carefully aim, make sure my shot counts, clear him. Now we're down to 1 tank, so the game is more or less won. But I have a feeling here I'm on for mastery badge because I've already taken out 4 tanks, I've done a lot of damage, plus I've taken out higher tier tanks. So therefore I know that I have I'm up tiered, so I know that I have the possibility of getting additional XP for that. I've damaged higher tier tanks, which always gives you additional XP. Use the speed of my tank to come around here. See what I am about pre-aiming the gun. I was moving the turret as I moved around the corner, so that when I came around the corner the turret was already aligned with the Churchill, so I could just fire off the shot immediately. And if I had come around without having it pre-aimed, it would have taken quite seconds for it to come onto it, and in that time the Churchill could have put a shell into me. So therefore this is why it's important with tanks like this that have very slow moving traversal turrets to pre-aim them so that they're aligned as soon as you're ready to take the shot. And if you are not proficient with that skill, it's something you should practice, and it will stand you in good stead, not just on this tier but on all tiers as you move up. And now that was a pretty good game. I'm very happy with that because also I was up tiered. I was playing against tier 5s and some big tier 5s like the KV-1. So let's have a recap on the key points about this tank. So this is a support vehicle, and so therefore a TD is always a support vehicle, so therefore you need to base your movements on what your team is doing. Don't YOLO, don't go off on your own. Your team needs your gun. See what they're doing and move to support them. That can be either going directly behind them to help them, or knowing the map and picking a sniping position behind them where you allow them to spot and you can fire past them and do damage into the enemy. You need to move when required to support your team, so sometimes if you're sniping you can do it for the first half of the game, but then as the game moves on you need to move to support your team. Aiming is maiming, you need to make your shots count. You have a big gun with a slow reload, so therefore make every shot count. It's more important than ever when you are in a tank destroyer because your job is to make your shots count and do that damage and use that big gun. As I said, unlike other tank destroyers at this tier, you have a turret but slow traverse, but it is an advantage. But just be aware of your slow traverse and do the pre-aiming as we talked about. Next in line is the Wolverine, which is a brilliant tank destroyer. I love it, but please take your time getting there. Play hundreds of games in this tank, get proficient with it. Don't rush up to tier 5. The biggest jump is from tier 4 to tier 5 in my opinion. Don't rush there, because if you do, you will lose badly. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it. Take care, talk to you soon. Cheers, Mush.